Patriots Nation, this game left a lot to process, and when you sit back and really break down what happened on the field, you realize there is much more beneath the surface than just the final score. What stood out immediately was the way New England imposed its identity early, leaning heavily on the ground game and dictating tempo from the opening drives. From the first snap, there was a clear intention to control possession, wear down the opposing defense, and create manageable situations that allowed the offense to stay ahead of the chains. That approach paid dividends right away, especially as the running lanes began to open and the confidence level across the unit steadily grew. Drake May's performance cannot be evaluated solely through the lens of passing efficiency, because his overall impact on the game went far beyond throws made or missed. His mobility changed the math for the defense, forcing defenders to hesitate just long enough for plays to develop. On multiple occasions, he showed patience and awareness, recognizing when the pocket was collapsing and making decisive choices with his legs. Those quarterback runs were not reckless or improvised. They were calculated, timely, and often came in moments when the offense needed a spark to sustain a drive. That kind of situational awareness is not something that can be taught overnight, and it reflects a quarterback who understands the flow of the game and his responsibility within it. The running game, led by Trayvon Henderson, was the engine that kept everything moving. Henderson ran with a combination of burst and vision that consistently stressed the defense horizontally and vertically. What made his performance especially impressive was his ability to turn routine plays into explosive gains. There were runs that looked contained at first glance, only for Henderson to cut back sharply, slip through arm tackles, and accelerate into open space. Those moments are momentum-shifting plays, the kind that energize the sideline and force defensive coordinators to rethink their approach. His patience behind the line, followed by decisive bursts through gaps, highlighted just how dangerous he can be when the offense commits to establishing the run. The offensive line deserves significant recognition for setting the tone early. Their ability to create movement at the line of scrimmage allowed the Patriots to stay committed to the ground attack without hesitation. Double teams were effective, second-level blocks were executed with discipline, and there was a noticeable level of cohesion that allowed plays to develop as designed. That kind of performance up front builds trust throughout the offense, because backs hit holes with confidence and the quarterback can operate knowing he has time to make decisions. When an offensive line plays with that level of consistency, it elevates everyone around them. As the first half unfolded, the balance between designed runs, option looks, and play-action concepts kept the defense guessing. Drake May's ability to sell the fake and then either keep the ball or distribute it added layers to the offensive structure. Even when the passing game was not firing on all cylinders, the threat of his mobility prevented defenders from fully committing to coverage responsibilities. That hesitation created just enough space for the running game to thrive and allowed the Patriots to maintain control for extended stretches. It was a reminder that offensive success is not always about flashy throws, but about forcing the defense into uncomfortable decisions snap after snap. Defensively, the early stages of the game showed discipline and composure. The Patriots did a solid job limiting chunk plays and forcing the opposing offense to earn every yard. There was an emphasis on sound tackling and maintaining leverage, particularly on early downs, which helped set up more favorable third-down situations. Even with key absences in the lineup, the defense communicated well and stayed organized, avoiding the kind of breakdowns that can quickly spiral into long scoring drives. That level of organization speaks to preparation and an understanding of assignments, even when rotations are adjusted due to injuries. The defensive front worked hard to control gaps and disrupt timing, making it difficult for the opposing quarterback to settle into a rhythm. Pressure did not always result in sacks, but it forced quicker decisions and limited the effectiveness of deeper developing routes. The secondary, meanwhile, showed awareness in coverage, keeping plays in front of them and minimizing yards after the catch. Those details matter, especially against offenses that thrive on rhythm and timing. And for much of the first half, New England did well to disrupt both. Special teams quietly played their part in shaping field position during that early stretch. Solid execution helped avoid giving the opponent short fields, and that allowed the defense to operate with more flexibility. While there were no headline-grabbing moments, the consistency in this phase contributed to the overall structure of the game and reinforced the idea that every unit was aligned in purpose. Field position battles often go unnoticed until they swing a game, and early on, the Patriots managed that aspect effectively. What also stood out was the body language and communication on the field. There was a sense of accountability among players, particularly when things did not go perfectly. Missed opportunities did not lead to visible frustration or finger-pointing, but rather to regrouping and focusing on the next snap. That kind of response reflects leadership and maturity, qualities that are essential over the course of a long season. Drake May, in particular, showed command in the huddle, maintaining a steady presence regardless of the situation. As the game progressed, the contrast between execution and missed opportunities began to emerge more clearly, but the foundation built early on remained evident. The Patriots demonstrated that when they play with balance, discipline, and physicality, they are capable of dictating terms rather than reacting. The running game established an identity, the quarterback added versatility, and the defense showed it could hold firm under pressure. Those elements together form a blueprint that can be refined and expanded as the season continues. The encouraging aspect is not just that these flashes appeared, but that they were sustained for meaningful stretches of the game. That suggests the issues that surfaced later are correctable rather than structural. Consistency, especially in execution and adjustments, becomes the next step in turning promising performances into complete ones. The early portion of this matchup offered a clear glimpse of what this team can be when all phases are working in harmony, and that is something worth building on as challenges ahead grow more demanding. As the game moved into its later stages, the real test for New England became consistency, and this is where the conversation naturally shifts from promise to execution. The second half revealed how thin the margin for error can be when momentum starts to tilt. Defensively, fatigue and small lapses in positioning began to surface, and against a disciplined opponent, those moments were immediately exploited. Coverage that held firm earlier started to stretch just enough for passing windows to open, and runs that were bottled up before began to leak into meaningful gains. It was not a collapse, but rather a gradual erosion that underscored how demanding it is to sustain high-level execution for an entire game. The absence of key contributors became more noticeable as the pace intensified. Rotations that worked earlier were pushed harder, and communication had to be flawless to compensate. When assignments were missed by even a fraction, the result was extended drives that kept the Patriots' defense on the field longer than ideal. Still, there were sequences where the unit responded with toughness, forcing critical stops and showing that the structure of the defense remained sound. Those moments matter because they demonstrate that the issues were situational rather than systemic, rooted more in timing and endurance than in a lack of understanding. Offensively, adjustments from the opposing defense placed greater emphasis on limiting the run and forcing the Patriots to win through the air. Boxes became more crowded, edges were set more aggressively, and option looks were read with greater discipline. That shift required patience and precision, and while there were moments of progress, rhythm was harder to sustain. Drake May continued to compete, staying poised even when reads were taken away and progressions required an extra beat. His willingness to stand in, absorb pressure, and make decisions without panic reflected growth that goes beyond any single play. What stood out during these stretches was how the offense leaned on its identity rather than abandoning it. Even when gains were smaller, the commitment to balance remained, preventing the game from becoming one-dimensional. Trayvon Henderson still found ways to contribute, not always through explosive runs, but by grinding out tough yards that kept drives alive and forced the defense to stay honest. Those carries do not always show up as highlights, but they shape the flow of a game and set the tone for situational football. The mental aspect of the contest became increasingly apparent as pressure mounted. Every possession carried weight, and the response to adversity revealed a great deal about the team's character. There are no signs of disengagement, no visible cracks in focus. Instead, players regrouped, communicated, and continued to compete snap after snap. That resilience is often built through experiences exactly like this one, where outcomes are uncertain and execution is challenged under stress. Special teams again played a subtle but important role as the field position battle tightened. Clean operations helped avoid compounding mistakes, allowing the Patriots to stay within striking distance even as momentum fluctuated. In games where margins are slim, simply avoiding errors can be just as impactful as creating big plays. That discipline kept opportunities alive and ensured that the game never slipped completely out of reach. One of the more encouraging signs came from the sideline leadership during these moments. Adjustments were discussed, energy was maintained, and there was a clear emphasis on accountability. Younger players leaned on veterans, and communication flowed steadily. That dynamic matters because it reflects a culture that values problem-solving over frustration. It also lays groundwork for growth, as lessons learned in real time tend to resonate more deeply than those discussed after the fact. As the clock continued to wind down, the contrast between early control and late-game tension highlighted areas for immediate focus moving forward. Finishing drives, tightening coverage in critical situations, and maintaining leverage against very defensive looks will be points of emphasis. Yet none of these challenges diminish the progress shown. Instead, they frame the next phase of development, where turning competitive performances into consistent results becomes the objective. Drake May's overall command throughout these moments continued to evolve. His body language remained steady, his communication clear, and his decision-making deliberate. Even when plays did not break as intended, he demonstrated an understanding of situational priorities, protecting possession and keeping the offense organized. That steadiness has a ripple effect, reinforcing confidence across the unit and setting a standard for preparation and response. The broader takeaway from this portion of the game is that New England is navigating the space between potential and polish. The building blocks are visible, from the physicality of the run game to the adaptability of the quarterback and the underlying structure of the defense. What remains is the refinement that comes with repetition, health, and continued trust in execution. Games like this accelerate that process by exposing exactly where adjustments are needed. There is also value in recognizing how close the margins truly are. Small improvements in situational awareness, communication, and stamina can shift outcomes dramatically. The Patriots showed they can compete, control stretches, and respond to adversity, all of which are essential traits as the season intensifies. Translating those traits into sustained performance is the next challenge, one that will be shaped by how the team applies the lessons learned from moments when control began to slip. As attention turns to preparation and correction, the focus will naturally fall on reinforcing strengths rather than reinventing identity. The commitment to physical football, balanced offense, and collective responsibility remains intact. What follows is the process of tightening execution so that strong starts are matched by equally strong finishes, allowing the Patriots to fully capitalize on the promise they continue to display when the game demands clarity, toughness, and composure. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Your support helps us bring you the latest updates on the New England Patriots. And of course, drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from Patriots fans. In what is already being whispered as one of the most shocking moves in recent NFL history, the New England Patriots and the Minnesota Vikings are reportedly closing in on a trade that could send shockwaves through the league. Sources close to both organizations are hinting at a deal that no one saw coming, leaving fans, analysts, and insiders scrambling to piece together the potential implications. While official confirmation remains elusive, the mere suggestion of such a transaction has ignited a wildfire of speculation across social media, sports talk shows, and locker room chatter. The Patriots, known for their calculated roster maneuvers under the long shadow of Bill Belichick, have apparently been targeting a game-changing addition, one that could redefine their offensive or defensive strategy. Meanwhile, The Vikings, who have shown a willingness to take bold steps to secure talent, are reportedly ready to part with a key piece in order to bolster other areas of their roster. The combination of these two teams, each with their distinct philosophies and recent struggles or triumphs, has fans imagining a domino effect across the league. Could this trade spark a series of retaliatory moves from other franchises eager to capitalize on sudden openings? Industry insiders are already drawing up scenarios, with every rumor magnified by the sheer star power and market influence of the teams involved. What makes this potential deal even more tantalizing is the mystery surrounding the players and draft considerations involved. While speculation ranges from high-profile veterans to promising young talent, no official leaks have confirmed the names at stake, keeping the football world on the edge of its seat. Analysts are dissecting every hint, every subtle comment from team executives, as if reading tea leaves, trying to predict the ultimate impact. From fan forums to major sports networks, the chatter is unanimous. This is not a standard trade, but a move that could redefine team dynamics, locker room hierarchies, and even the playoff landscape. As whispers evolve into a frenzy, one thing is certain. Whether confirmed or denied in the coming days, the Patriots-Vikings rumor has already accomplished its goal. The NFL is buzzing, debates are raging, and every fan from Boston to Minneapolis is suddenly imagining a future that seemed impossible just yesterday. Could this be the trade that changes everything? Only time will tell, but for now, the league trembles under the weight of speculation, excitement, and the undeniable thrill of a blockbuster in the making. That's it for today's update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving fresh and exclusive Patriots news, make sure to subscribe and hit like. We always appreciate hearing your opinions in the comments. See you in the next one, Patriots Nation.